Hi, and welcome back to Rate That Album, a back and forth review of an album that is chosen by either myself, Joseph Fremming, or my good friend, Paul Muad'Dib. Paul, how you doing?
I need some Live Aid, man. I'm not doing so good.
Yeah, so we're doing something a little different this week. I feel like we're pretty good on the roll with albums, and I was inspired to pick this because so the story after we did the rate of Lamb Lies Down and No Jacket Required, I decided to read Phil Collins's he has an autobiography called Not Dead Yet, and I got to the part where he talks about Live Aid. Now, Live Aid is what we're going to focus on because he has some hilarious stories, and one that stood out was something I was unaware that even happened. So for this review, we're going to be talking about an infamous one, again, that I had no idea, of a Led Zeppelin reunion. Paul, were you aware that they reunited in 1985?
No, I had no clue that this happened.
Yep, and there's a reason for that. Led Zeppelin has never allowed an official release of this performance. And we'll get into why. It's pretty evident. And then I wanted to lighten it up and go a little longer. I didn't want to do the whole Live Aid thing because that's just it's massive. Mm-hmm. But I decided to pick basically the yin to this yang of Led Zeppelin, and that is Queen's set, which is pretty much regarded as one of the highlight shows of the 80s. Mm-hmm. Okay. So Paul, Live Aid, I'll get into a brief history. Live Aid was a benefit concert, raise awareness to, I believe, a famine that was ravaging Africa at the time. Spearheaded by Bob Geldof. Bob Geldof, known to mostly me as Pink, the character Pink from the movie Pink Floyd The Wall. He was also in a new wave band called Boomtown Rats.
I know him as Fifi Trixie Belle's dad.
God damn it. Anyway, he started doing these kind of charitable things to raise awareness in the 80s. We Are the World type of thing. Do They Know It's Christmas? It was just this, all these big names at the time. And he had an ambitious plan for a whole day concert called Live Aid. One would take place in Philadelphia and one in the UK. Now, Paul, this is where the Phil Collins angle comes in because he was asked to, participate. Mm-hmm. And I'll get into that. But one of the infamous things about this concert was that Phil Collins played both the UK and the United States shows. He did a solo set. He performed with Sting for a song where Sting changed the way Sting doesn't sing the lyrics to Every Breath You Take the same as it's recorded. So poor Phil Collins is going off the recorded version and Sting's winging it. So people got mad at him for fucking up the song, even though he was technically singing it correctly.
Oh God. All right.
Yeah. And another poor thing of poor Phil, he started playing Against All Odds during the UK show and just hit a sour chord on the fucking piano. So this kind of sets the stage for what happens later when he joins his good friend Robert Plant. So, Paul, what do you want to talk about first? Do you want to talk about Queen or Led Zeppelin?
Oh, I think the audience is going to want to hear the Led Zeppelin, story the most. So let's do Queen first.
Okay. Well, Queen's mostly going to be us talking about how great it is, and it's in contrast to what we see with Led Zeppelin. And so Queen performs, and this is the thing I want to talk about with this is how fucking wrong the movie Bohemian Rhapsody
got. So wrong.
The Live Aid part. Mm-hmm. So it's 1985. The movie has it that Queen had broken up, and they're going to reunite for Live Aid. Freddie wants, get back with the guys. Plus, he finds out he has HIV, AIDS. I forget. In reality, Queen had never broken up.
Nope. Queen had never broken up.
They never broke up. Freddie Mercury would not be diagnosed with AIDS until much later after.
Yep.
Probably like 3 years, I think. 3 or 4 years after this, maybe 2 or 3. I'm not entirely sure, but so all that stuff at with Bohemian Rhapsody, I was in the theater, and for what? So I think Rami Malek did a good job.
Yes.
Do I think he was Academy Award worthy? No, not really, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. But I got upset a couple times during that movie, and I think the Live Aid part just put me over the edge because they're just making shit up, and what infuriates me most about this is the band were like supervisors on that movie. They were producers.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just making shit up for their own legacy, and that really
that bothers me, and they kind of changed some things around. Yeah, absolutely. No, but I mean, so let's call it here. Let's say it wasn't really the best live reunion that ever happened, because they hadn't broken up. Let's be real there. Pretty much. And you could tell they had broken up because there was nothing missing there.
And I think they had just released. God, I'm going to look it up because you watch the performance. Fans have signs of the album that came out not too long before, and I just don't.
Well, they did the Hot Space, which came out in
Hot Space.
Yep, came out in 1982. Yep.
Yeah, so maybe they were on a hiatus. But I believe they were still touring and whatnot. I mean, the movie really amped up Freddie Mercury's solo career, which is weird because he did have a solo career, but it wasn't very super successful.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't believe it was something like he would have broken up he didn't break up the band to do it, which is another weird thing.
Yes.
And then they had the weird relationship with the guy he was seeing, and I don't know how much that's true. I don't know enough about Freddie Mercury's personal life.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But that felt like that was kind of probably made more than it probably actually was.
So here's my issue with any kind of biopic things is I typically avoid them, honestly, because I sit there and I go, who's in the room? Because there's always this talk of this and that, or someone says something really inspiring or blah, 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 or, says something really, fuck it. You don't know what you don't know. So don't make this shit up.
Mm-hmm.
And so unless it's a documentary style type of thing, which I'll watch, and I always, kind of always go with a grain of salt, you're always looking at what the story the documentarian's trying to put out there. But with biopics, I find them really, really boring to me because I sit back and I go, okay, who was around in 1970 whatever to remember that fucking conversation?
Yeah, I don't really like them either. I think the only one I enjoyed was Ray, and I think Jamie Foxx did a good job, and that was pretty much like a warts and all thing with Ray Charles. But that I didn't care for Walk the Line. I didn't care for Bohemian Rhapsody moments. I thought was interesting, but I'll watch you said I'll watch the documentaries even for bands I hate.
Yep.
So with Queen, why I knew a lot of this already is because in the late 90s, early 2000s, VH1 had the other side of Behind the Music was they had the Legends, which was a behind the music for bigger bands. They had one on Queen. Mm-hmm. So, and I watched that a lot because I was a stoned teenager. Of course, I'm just gonna watch shit about.
I watched VH1 had some really cool shit. They had the storytellers, they had the legends, they had pop-up video. There was a point where VH1 became more MTV than MTV was, which was interesting because they started as baby MTV.
Yeah, and it was, and people gotta remember, like behind the music was wild because they make like Tony Orlando and Don interesting.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So
there's some. And one of my favorite, one of actually would off topic here, but one of my favorite SNL skits was a make fun of when it was Neil Diamond on
yeah,
the H1 The Storytellers.
oh, the storyteller. Leave me out of this, Neil. I will leave you in.
I will leave you in. Brilliant.
Like John Goodman plays like the saxophonist or whatever, and he's just like was like talking about, yeah, he gets that weird porno you can only like order in the back of magazines.
Oh my god, it's so brilliant. It's a great thing because it really does kind of show like it's why we watched like the storytellers was to hear some of the hopefully we'd hear something interesting out of it. And the most we got was Will Ferrell as fucking Neil Diamond.
It was great though. It was great, and I don't know if they ever released. I had it on bootleg, but there was a Storytellers. I don't know if they ever released it, but Tom Waits did one.
Oh, interesting.
And it's great because he's just Tom Waits is great because he just makes up like weird stories, and like none of it's true, but it's just highly entertaining. So yeah, if you ever can find that, I'd say check it out.
Oh, awesome.
Well, let's get back to Queen now, Paul. I'm a huge Queen fan. I've been really into Queen probably since I was introduced in Wayne's World a bit.
Sure.
And my other favorite movie of the late 80s, The Highlander.
That's how I got my Queen first, was Highlander. And then it was Wayne's World. Yep.
Yeah. So, I fell in love with Queen. Like my dad always called that like headphone music, and I think that's a pretty good
Oh God, yes.
For like music like Queen or Pink Floyd, Beatles, like it's really good headphone music. So I going in like I love Queen, and so I watch. So like this might be so for people listening. I watched the Led Zeppelin one first because I needed something good to watch. And Paul did the same thing, and you messaged me. This is one of the few times we talked in between. Yes. Normally we don't give the other our point of view, but this is how telling about how bad Led Zeppelin were. That you're like, it's night and day.
Yeah.
And it is. It's sound quality, performance. Like, so Queen plays 6 songs. Bohemian Rhapsody, basically the first part of it, which goes into Radio Gaga, which is probably my top 3 favorite Queen songs.
Mm-hmm.
Hammer to Fall, which is fucking awesome.
Awesome.
Crazy Little Thing Called Love, which, not my favorite, I think, over the years, but still, And then, of course, their big closing of We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions. So, Paul, let's talk about how awesome fucking Queen is. Freddie Mercury with his piano with Pepsi beer. Like, he has like 16 Pepsi cups and 2 beers.
Yep. This is, when you look at live performances, right? Like this is, in my mind, like a true live festival performance. This is the prototype. This is what you want. Like being a band, having been in several bands and having done several live things, this is something that always came up. Like, okay, let's try and be Queen at Live Aid, right? I think anyone musically, like this is what you want. It's probably one of the best sets. Freddie Mercury has a presence. Let's just put it, Brian May's a good, all of them are good guitarists, whatever. But will there ever be a better frontman in terms of charisma and what he can actually do live and in the studio? Will there ever be another true Freddie Mercury? I probably, but I can't name one right now. No. This is like a once in a lifetime. Yeah. This is once a generation thing.
And what I love about Freddie Mercury is he refused to ever get his overbite fixed because he feared there was a chance it was going to alter his
voice.
His voice.
Yeah. Yeah, and and what's interesting to me is people don't realize all these guys were opera trained. So they truly made opera rock, and it's more people need to do that. Like the fuck.
Well, and like I think a lot of people like often forget, and like I'm guilty of it too. But they were really hard rock when they wanted to
Oh,
hammer
God,
to fall proof. Like so, if you listen to those first the first albums before Day at the Races, A Night at the Opera,
yes,
it's heavy rock. It's wild.
Hmm.
Tie Your Mother Down. God, that's a fucking great song.
Great, dude,
They have
it's
so
a
many
banger.
great songs.
It's a bang. Yeah, Queen.
Well,
Go on.
Is there anybody who could ever who do you think would even come close? And I think we're both in agreement. Freddie Mercury is probably the best frontman of a band ever.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anybody who'd come close in your mind?
Fuck. Let me think. I've seen a lot of bands.
I'll tell you, it's not going to be Robert Plant.
It's not going to be Robert Plant. Just give me a second here because I'm trying to think of people I've seen before that were really charismatic on stage. And like I said, I've seen a lot of bands in my time, and I would say Peter Gabriel. I've seen a lot of his live stuff and how he does things, and there definitely is that performance piece to it. But it's not Freddie Mercury. As far as modern ones that I've seen, no, no one's ever really rushed out there and are sweating and busting their balls on stage like that anymore. Like most people, it's a paycheck. It's not a performance to them. I mean, even when we saw Black Sabbath, I think you went to the same show I did, which was the
Ozfest
Black Sabbath.
99?
What's that?
Ozfest 99?
No, I went to the Black Sabbath Pantera Incubus.
Yeah, I wasn't at that one, but
Okay.
I saw them in 99, and Ozzy is a good front man, and this is where Peter Gabriel's, he's entertaining and he's artsy, but he, with Freddie Mercury, you get the full package. So not only is he doing great performance, his vocals are great, but he's such a fucking showman.
Yes.
He's riling the audience up. Gabriel goes out and does his thing. He's not really interacting with the audience that much.
True.
He's putting on his thing. And, Led Zeppelin, prior to this, it's they're not really ramping. It's just, they're going out there and just doing their thing.
Yeah, I can't think
Roger
of any...
Daltrey, I think, was okay.
He was okay.
Yeah.
Robert Daltrey was okay.
I liked him more as the Immortal on Highlander, the TV series, more than a singer.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. He was okay, but I wasn't a fan of it. But I mean, for someone to be the total package like that as a real true front man, I hate to say it, but I'm gonna say it. Bono. You and I have our hatred of U2, but nothing can deny the fact that Bono can rile up a crowd and be a really good frontman. And
do the theatrics too.
So yeah, I got to give it to Bono on that.
Yeah, he's probably the only one who comes close.
Mm-hmm.
And so watching this, I'm just floored. I'm all in, and I love Freddie Mercury. He doesn't have the long hair. He's got the cropped short hair and the goofy fucking mustache, and he's still at first that's a little jarring. You just completely forget how weird he looks.
Yeah, no, he does. I liked him better when he didn't have the mustache. He had the long hair. He's a goofy looking dude, but he transcends it. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. 2 minutes into this goddamn performance, and it doesn't matter anymore. Yeah,
as soon as he sits down and he's playing the piano before he even gets his ass on the fucking bench. The opening bars to Bohemian Rhapsody, and they don't play the whole thing, but
nope.
It was a good opening. Yeah, so I loved it. Radio Gaga, I love, and the video for that's great. And I don't know if you ever heard of a band called Electric Six.
I've heard of Electric Six, yes.
Have you seen their video? They do a cover of Radio Gaga.
I have not seen that. No,
I've not. You got to see that. It's okay. The cover's really good. The video's great. It's a ghost of Freddie Mercury. You just check it out. It's good. It's one of the better tributes to Queen I have ever seen.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out.
But yeah, so this performance is, it transcends, and like you can see it in the audience. Everybody is like rapt, just floored. They sound great. They sound like it's not like it doesn't sound like they like hadn't played in like years. So it's really great because it's a contrast to what we're going to talk about next.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay. I had to pull up. Okay. So this is a shit show. And I had to pull up our conversation, right? From before. And the first thing I fucking said to you, and again, we're full transparency, guys. This is probably the only time we've really discussed anything before it. I said, was Jimmy Page stuck on a microphone stand?
And yes, he got stuck on one. So
go into. I need to know more. But yeah, go into this.
Paul,
dude.
let's go back to your good old brother Phil here.
Yes, please.
Phil's in the gaps. So what happens is before Live Aid, he's having lunch. Because he produced and played on Robert Plant's solo albums in the 80s. Like, Phil Collins was everywhere. We discussed that.
We discussed that as nauseum. Yep.
Yep. And so Robert Plant asks Phil Collins if he could get him on Live Aid. Phil's like, you're fucking Robert Plant. I think you could. I think your people can get you to play Live Aid. And he's like, yeah, okay. So so Phil's, I believe it's the No Jacket Required tour. It comes to an end, and he gets a call, and Robert Plant says, "Yeah, you want to play with me at Live Aid? Me and Jimmy are thinking about doing something." So Phil Collins is like, "Oh, cool, him and Jimmy Page. That'll be interesting." He's just thinking it's going to be the three of them, whatever. Then it slowly dawns, so this thing starts snowballing into a full-blown Led Zeppelin reunion. Collins is tired. He doesn't want to, they want him to fly to the United States to rehearse. He tells them, you guys just rehearse without me. I'll listen to the albums. I'll figure out the drum parts. No problem. They're like, oh, okay. So he does his set, like I said, in the UK, takes the Concorde, and for people who don't know, the Concorde, I don't know if it still exists, but it was like a super jet that flew you across the Atlantic in hours instead of like a plane, which would take, 12, 14 hours. So Collins, his memoir is just great. So if you've never read it, you got it, because this is... I'm gonna have
to pick this up.
So much better. So he says he lands, and he gets there, and he meets up, and he's like, Jimmy Page. Basically, Jimmy Page is drooling all over himself. It's his subtle way of saying this guy's fucking loaded.
Oh God!
Like he could barely stand up. He shows up, and he finds out that they're gonna have two drummers.
Right.
The guys that they rehearsed with, and they're like, yeah, you guys will just play together. So Phil goes to this drummer. I forget the guy's name. Like, we should probably figure out how we're gonna do this. So with Genesis, he laid down the drums, and they had a tour drummer so he could focus on singing. Mm-hmm. So he's worked with two drummer as a drummer duo.
Oh, if you watch his solo stuff, like Phil Collins' solo stuff, he sometimes plays with two other drummers.
Yeah.
Like he's a fucking phenomenal drummer.
Yeah, but they practice, and they know, because if you're drumming, you have two drummers, you can easily trip over the other. Like same with, like, you have two guitarists, that happens too. So you got to be all in sync. The guy's like kind of stares at him. He's like, "No, man," like. So right away, Phil Collins notices things are not as ideal as he was hoping. Plus, he says Robert Plant, when he's with the Led Zeppelin guys, is like, he doesn't like being around them then. So
really?
Take from that what you will. My guess, Robert Plant turns into an asshole when he's around Jimmy Page and John Paul Jones. So,
well, they were they were notorious for a lot of weird shit, dude.
Yeah. So
fish story. Fish.
Phil, he just flew across the ocean after doing a set with Sting and his solo songs, he has to do. So he's doing another solo set in Philadelphia and playing with Led Zeppelin. Again, he was unaware going in and agreeing to Robert Plant this was going to be a full-blown Led Zeppelin reunion.
Oh, God. Okay.
Go on. Yeah, so again, he shows up. Jimmy Page is so fucked up, he's drooling all over himself. Robert Plant's kind of being a dick. And he's like, John Paul Jones, he's like, he couldn't get 2 words out of the guy. He's just a quiet guy. I think there's a reason why. I think John Paul Jones kind of got a hint that he knew what kind of show this was going to be. You don't tour with these guys. You're not in a band with a group of guys for like 10 years and not pick up when things are going south. And you can see this on the video because John Paul Jones goes out of his way to not be.
I was going to say, you don't see him once in that video, man. Like he could full out say, I wasn't there. Like he has that alibi. Like I was not there.
Yeah, okay, so that's kind of like the backstory. So they get on stage, and right away, I mean, so this is where we're going to start talking. Right away, you can tell something's not right. Like you said, Jimmy Page gets stuck in a microphone.
It gets stuck in a microphone stand, man.
Yeah, Jimmy Page later said the reason why the performance was bad was because somebody handed him an out-of-tune guitar. I do not. The only way I could see a huge live concert event with a reunited Led Zeppelin, if a roadie handed him an out-of-tune guitar, it's probably because Jimmy Page did something incredibly dickish.
Well, okay.
When you watch the video, out-of-tune or not, he looks incredibly fucked up.
He looks like 10 miles of bad fuck road, man. And I'm going to say right now that's one of the things I sent you to is I said, he's out of tune. And because he is completely out of tune. Like, here's the thing. You're fucked up when you can't even hear yourself being out of tune on stage, right? Like you're hearing your notes and it's not going well.
Yeah, you stop.
Yeah, you stop. Like in between songs, you stop and you tune.
As soon as you hear the first notes, because the first track, so they do 3 songs. They do Rock and Roll, Whole Lot of Love, and Stairway to Heaven. Mm-hmm. Right away, he should have asked for a new guitar. Why didn't he? Because I think he was so fucked up, he had no idea.
I agree with that. Yeah, I completely, again, when you're that, you're going to know. I hear people say, oh man, I couldn't hear myself on stage, blah, blah, blah. As a singer, yes. Yeah. Yes.
And you can tell, the best part is, you can tell right away, Robert Plant knew.
Plant knew right away.
John Paul Jones knew right away because he just slinks to the side of the stage. So this is the most hilarious live video I've ever seen. I can't stop. I had tears rolling down my eyes. I was laughing so hard when I first watched this because the look of horror that continually grows on Phil Collins' face.
Oh my God. This is one of the things that we did talk about. Phil Collins looks all happy and whatever right in the beginning, and by the end, he looks so defeated.
And he's in his book. So probably one of the other. I'll bring up one more anecdote. But he said it wasn't just Jimmy Page's bad playing. He was like Robert Plant at this time could not hit those notes.
And that's okay. That's the other thing. Like Robert Plant could make the excuse, and I've seen singers do this. I wasn't hitting the notes right because the guitar wasn't right. No, he could not hit those notes.
And if you look at him, he's got to be like what in his like late 30s, early 40s. He looks like he's 50 from heavy smoking.
Mm-hmm.
And heavy smoking's not good for your voice. So yeah,
No.
there was no way in hell.
Now, I will say this, though, and that's not an excuse, because look at David Bowie. David Bowie was a consummate smoker, never lost his voice, because the different, and look, Mick Jagger, look at all the drugs that Mick Jagger has done.
Yeah, but their
Right.
vocals aren't like Robert Plant's. His is a lot of, screaming, where theirs is more melodic. It's probably a little easier on their vocal cords. He's doing the like sounding like a fucking bird being shot in the ass. So yeah, that's a difference too, and a lot of people also like genetics play into part, like Tom Waits, like that voice doesn't come from not smoking.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. Bowie was a heavy, but it depends. But he, you could just tell. You can tell, like, people who smoke, and then there's people who, like, oh my God, they're probably like 5 packs a day. And Robert Plant looks 5 packs a day. Like, fucking, he's got the wrinkles. He's tan. He's super tan, he's got this big poofy fucking mullet. Like, he looks like America's lesbian aunt. Jesus Christ.
Okay, but
Show me the lie, Paul. Show me the lie.
No. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And I was thinking about that too, and I'm watching. I'm like, God damn it! Like, how did we not know in the '80s like this was shitty clothing?
Yeah, he's got that bright blue fucking shirt. I can't even judge John Paul Jones's outfit because I didn't fucking see him much. Jimmy, and then you look at Jimmy Page, and he looks like a bloated dead fish. His
he is so
pasty.
bloated.
Yeah,
he's so bloated.
Yeah, he's bloated, and I don't know if this is like around when he was still using heroin too. Like I'm thinking he was probably fucked up on heroin and fucking blasted drunk. Like I for a long time.
I don't even know if he's on the heroin at this point either, because he looked too bloated for heroin.
Yeah,
he looked way too bloated for heroin. I'm just thinking he was on a shit ton of pills and booze. Really, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and like he
had Elvis bloat. He had Elvis bloat.
Yeah, and he's not, and he doesn't realize that the notes he's hitting are just fucking off.
Oh, they're so bad. I mean, even when they're doing Stairway to Heaven, it's off. It's off, and he's not in time. Robert Plant is kind of looking back. He can't keep up with what he's trying to do there.
Yeah, they're not even in rhythm together.
No one is in rhythm together. Like, this is what happens when you have an actual reunion and don't practice before the reunion.
Yeah.
Like I would have much rather have seen just a Robert Plant, Phil Collins set, and I think that would have been a lot better.
Yeah. Well, neither of those guys are showing up fucking hammered.
Well, and again, you could have worked, like, okay, in the memoir, does it say when Robert Plant reached out to Phil Collins? Like, how soon before Live Aid? I mean, imagine if he knew Live Aid.
I think it was like a few weeks time, and he had just gotten back from touring. He's just back in the UK. Collins just did not want to get on a 16-hour flight to. Yeah. I think they're rehearsing in Florida.
Okay, yeah, because this feels like no rehearsal.
Oh God! And like the thing is, like, he thought they did. He thought they were rehearsing with his drummer. but who knows? At this point, you get so many weird, conflicting stories from these guys. Page is blaming the autotune guitar. Like, man, that's an easy fix. Like,
again,
just ask for a new one. And then when you contrast this with Queen,
right? And I gotta say this, the excuse of if they get
smoked, but he could still hit the high notes.
Well, and here's the thing. Again, you're a guitarist. You're Jimmy fucking Page, okay? Look, I can tune by ear. even, man, and I'm not that great of a guitarist. So you'll see people between sets. You're fucking. I mean, I did it all the time, in between songs, especially if you're doing different bends, different playing. You're playing a lot of it. You check the tuning in between songs. It's just what you do.
I want to know the story of who handed him the out-of-tune guitar and why they did it, because like I feel like that's a story in and of itself. Because you're not going to sabotage this big moment for these guys unless somebody fucking pissed you off.
Well, so and now here's the other. I mean, it had to be out of tune because I was thinking about it to myself, like I can hear what it's supposed to be, so he's hitting the right frets. And
not all the time. Not all the time.
No.
That's another thing I saw when he was soloing. Like, he's going off muscle memory because he's so fucked up, but, like, he's not, like, anywhere in the key it's supposed to be. So it's just, like, he's just hitting the solo where he thinks it's supposed to go. So he's not really even playing with the band. He's just playing off of what muscle memory it feels like.
Yes.
Did you get that, too? Where they're playing and I'd see where he's on the fretboard, I'd be like, what's he doing?
Well, there was a couple of times where I saw that, and like I said,
especially with Stairway, when he starts doing the solo to Stairway,
it doesn't look right. It doesn't look and it doesn't sound right. And there was a little bit more that was beyond there. Like, I mean, it's very, very possible, and I have to go back and listen to it for a fourth fucking time, and maybe I will do that.
Paul, I watch this. I mean, I watch this at least once a week just for the giggles.
Have been off a fret. I mean, he could have been off on the guitar and just not fucking. I mean, again, the guy was caught in a microphone. Microphone stand. He really didn't know where he was and what he was doing.
Phil Collins says when he showed up and he meets Jimmy Page, he's pretty much looks like The Walking Dead.
Yeah. Just in the back. I'm just. Well, you're not gonna be able to hear it. I'm just having it in my ear.
A lot of people.
Oh, there we go. No, now you're hearing it. My apologies, people. Well, God, we might get nailed, but dude, I'm gonna do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Paul's JFK moment of back and to the left.
Yeah, here we go, guys. If you can hear it, here it comes.
Yeah, and the thing is, like Robert Plant, he can hit those lower notes,
but he can't hit those higher notes. Yeah, no.
And maybe that's age too. Maybe I don't know. He was not hitting what he used to, and like I get it. It's probably hard to hit those high notes as you get older. A lot of bands just after a while they just they play them in different keys, so it's easier on their voices.
I used to have a really good falsetto, and my falsetto these days is not what it was, and that's just from aging. It's just what it is. That's why when we recorded stuff and did stuff, I knew that was going to come down the road, so I made sure that if I was going to sing something high, I was like, I got to put it in a place where I know I can hit it 20 years later in case we ever make it big. Are
you saying you can't hit the high notes of Immigrant Song, Paul? Is that what you're saying? You and Robert Plant.
Me and Robert Plant can't hit those things anymore. I just want to get to another spot here, like where you can hear just where it's off. Let's see.
Oh, I could.
Here we go. Yeah, he's not playing it right.
No. He's playing what he thinks it should be.
Yeah. He's playing what he thinks it should be. And he's very much out of his tits.
Yeah. And this is another thing too. So when we get to the whole lot of love. What is missing, Paul? The riff.
Yeah.
The riff is missing.
The riff is missing from a whole lot of love. It's not there.
Yeah, they just start playing a whole lot of love, and I'm like, wait, where's the the iconic John Paul Jones bass riff? Gone. Not there. They just, I don't know what Page is doing. He just sounds like he's just making fucking noise on his guitar at this point. And not even like the good, weird noise that Sid Barrett used to do with Interstellar Overdrive, just fucking pilled out fucking
Yeah.
Trying to remember what the song was.
Well, now, God, there's a story there. I remember reading one of the biographies where at one point his fingers were just were trying to strum, but it wasn't happening, and he was just staring off, and he thought he was playing guitar. Sid Barrett was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Sid had an excuse of, schizophrenia.
Yeah, schizophrenia mixed
so
with.
I'm going to forgive
drugs.
Sid if he does that, because that's beyond his. He didn't choose that.
No.
Jimmy Page chose to get fucked up and make his weird noise.
He chose to get fucked up. All right, I'll tell a behind the scenes story, man. So we were jamming together one night, getting prepared for a gig and just kind of playing. And we were at the time we were kind of a 9-piece jam band that was kind of starting to form off into, people were kind of bouncing out of it, and we were kind of getting down to our regular formation. And we decided one night that we were going to do acid and play, and just to kind of as a means of getting everyone in the same rhythm, everybody on the same page, kind of type of thing. Boy, could that have not gone any more wrong.
You should have asked me about that idea, because I would have told you that's not going to work.
It didn't work. Somehow, some way, everything we recorded that night ended up backwards. Like we didn't even get the fucking recording equipment right. We were so out of our tits, and we're just like, how did this happen? Because we don't understand how it happened, because we did it when we set everything up when we were sober, and then did it. So somebody must have fucked with it at some point when we were playing around. But when we were all coming down, I ended up playing a Radiohead song. And somehow, some way, that is like by far one of my favorite recordings we've ever done.
Well, you're not fucked up when you're coming down. You're starting to be more grounded in reality. Not that I know anything about this, people.
No. Not that I'm just saying this is hypothetically this happened. But
I can see the come down. I just can't see when you're actually.
Oh God, no.
High is just
everyone's on different rhythms. Everyone's doing different things. So
because everybody's in their own world. It's a communal experience, but everybody's still going through their own thing. So
and I will say either there's LSD, but in the 80s, one of the big pills that people were doing at the time was somas. And somas were really, really big, in the wrestling world, but they were also kind of getting around celebrities and things like that, because it's kind of supposed to be this miracle pill that it built muscle and repaired your body while you were sleeping. And it was kind of like Ambien in regards to you fought to stay awake on them because it felt really good while you're on them. And I'm wondering if there's a combination of because I'm watching him play here, and he is not. I mean, this is beyond drunk. He is not in reality.
He's off. I don't know. My guess would probably be Quaaludes and booze.
Oh yeah, Ludes, man. I forget about Ludes.
I think because Ludes haven't existed since 1989.
Yeah,
There's no real pharmaceutical reason to have them after a while after research, so they just got rid of him. Yeah, he looks like he's looted out though. He just seems like he got fucked up, thought he could pull it off and didn't, and then he blamed his autotune guitar.
Yeah. I mean, and again,
or as somebody in the comments of the YouTube video, this is when their deal with the devil ended.
Okay, since we're here, let's read some of these comments for the audience here, because you guys got to go out and find this here.
It's great. It's comedy gold.
I guess
it's been a long time since I rock and roll. Yeah, and it shows. I guess John Paul Jones didn't get the memo that everyone was supposed to perform like shit. Yeah, that's another thing. The bass sounds fine.
The bass sounds fine, and honestly, there's parts where the drumming works with the Phil Collins is basically staring at John Paul Jones the whole time.
Yeah, which is what you should be doing as a drummer and bass player. You got to be in that pocket.
So here's another one. Jimmy, what effects do you want on your guitar? Yes.
And that's so we're getting those effects, as the intro to Whole Lot of Love instead it seems like they're like, why aren't you just having John Paul Jones do the fucking riff?
Right.
Like,
And,
I'm just gonna make a lot of noise.
well, and there's this one here too, like Queen fans, yes, Live Aid, Led Zeppelin fans, please don't remind us about that tragedy. Here's someone's track listing: drugs, dog, stairway to alcohol, whole lot of ecstasy, babe, I'm gonna be drunk. Um, here's Jimmy Page. That blonde guy next to me must be the singer, Robert Plant. Now, where's West? I hope I turn my head in the right direction. Phil Collins, help. Somebody get me out of here. John Paul Jones. Thankfully, no camera is taking footage of me. I'll claim later I was not at the show.
That's true. He avoids the camera. Like,
he absolutely
and again, that kind of goes back. I think he saw that where this was going before the show.
One last one. On the guitar, we have Lil Wayne. On lead vocals, we have Chad Kroeger. On the drums, we have Phil Collins. And finally, on bass, we have the rest of Led Zeppelin.
Oh, my God. Yeah. So when you're watching the video, it's just the look of horror that just continually creeps on Phil Collins' face.
And you could see it, too, on Robert Plant.
Yeah.
Robert is not lost on Robert Plant.
No, he still looks embarrassed.
He's embarrassed. He's sweating.
When they get to Stairway to Heaven, you can tell he is embarrassed.
Yeah, he is.
Jimmy Page just he looks like nothing's going wrong.
No, Jimmy Page is just like,
he's all in. He's all in. Oh God! How do you not know, man? How do you not know?
He has no clue, and you can just see, like Phil. I mean, honestly, I gotta put it this way. Like, give you guys an idea. I don't know if you've seen. God, no, I'm not gonna be that mean. I'm gonna leave him alone. That would be cruel and unusual. All right, let's go on here. Yeah, no, this is a travesty. So, is there any aftermath to this, Joe?
So in Collins's book, and this is the last anecdote I'll bring up. He's horrified, as he should be, and they're doing interview with MTV. And Phil Collins in his book, he's like, the Led Zeppelin guys just perform basically. Like, he's more polite than I. Basically, they just put on the worst show of their entire careers, and they're being assholes, cagey assholes to this VJ, who obviously does not even want to be talking to him.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, so he's like, Jimmy Page is just being this giant dick to this interviewer. Like, and I could not find that interview for the life of me. But Collins was there, and he's just like, he could not believe the arrogance, especially after, like, talk about, like, unwarranted arrogance. When you just did a show like that, where your bass player goes out of his way should not be videoed.
Right.
Like,
right.
I would like to see, like, the look on John Paul Jones's face, but, like, there's times he just turns his back.
He does at one point. There is in the video. There is one point in the video where he is like, he is just hovering around Phil Collins, and like, I don't know if they're having a conversation or what, but
I'm sure they were. I'm sure that.
Yeah.
Like, my guess, because John Paul Jones, by all things I've read about Led Zeppelin, he's like the nicest guy in the group.
Mm-hmm.
My big guess is he probably is apologizing to Phil Collins.
Well, somebody's gotta.
Oh my God, yeah, and it was disastrous, and so this performance was so notorious, and Page and Plant were so embarrassed. Like I said, Jimmy Page blamed the auto-tune guitar, which that's part of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't think the performance would have been that much better if he wasn't tuned. I honestly don't think him being in tune was going to make it any.
No, I honestly,
this is a weird thing to say.
I don't. And on all honesty, maybe that's why the guy handed it to him a little bit untuned, knowing full well he was going to be all over that board. I don't know. I mean, there's got to be something there. But yeah, I mean, the double-headed guitar, when he switches to that's not out of tune. That's Jimmy Page. The first guitar he has.
Yeah. So Stairway to Heaven.
Stairway
There's
to
no
Heaven.
excuse why that should sound like shit.
No, and it does. And again, it's the same thing with Whole Lot of Love. The riff isn't there.
The riff isn't there. Then Stairway, yeah, it's probably a tuned guitar this time, but it still sounds like fuck awful.
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
oh man, it just see at the end of Stairway, it just looked like Robert Plant cannot wait to get off that fucking stage.
No. I mean, you look at his body language, the way he's standing there, and he kind of always kind of had that similar kind of style of Mick Jagger, hand on the hips types of things.
Yeah.
But he is like, this is more like annoyance. This is more like, fuck, I want to get off this stage. It's
almost like, this is why I'm not in this band anymore.
Yes. Now, I will say to their, to Led Zeppelin's probably hopeful whatever, they were, the audience didn't care what it sounded like.
No.
They were just happy to see Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
And I'm sure by that time they're all hammered, whatever. I mean, this is kind of what happens, with bands, especially like bar bands and things like that, bands at the end of the shows. You don't have to be spot on, because that's part of the reason why you want to be the closer, right?
Yeah. And so the fans probably didn't realize, but the band, most like 3/4 of the band did know something was afoot.
Yeah.
We all know what that other one was.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't it take years for them to get back together?
Yeah, it wasn't until 2008, the reunion, when Emmett, whatever, head of like the label that they were on, died, so they did a reunion show for that, and that was a lot better. I'm not a huge fan of Led Zeppelin. Like, I've just, over the years, 30 years of Get the Lead Out. Like, fuck, I can't listen to them. So I think that's another reason why I get a perverse joy out of watching this video, Paul. Like I said, I watch this at least once a week.
Well, I will say that, I mean, when we were in high school, man, we all hung out with people that were big Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin was the greatest fucking band of all time ever, yada, yada, yada. And I think we talked about this. We got burnt out on it. So,
yeah, a lot of those bands. The Doors. Like, to this day, I fucking hate the Doors. Like, I just can't get into them.
There's certain songs, but you know what it has to be? It has to be like really, really deep cuts, like things I've never heard of. Yeah. That do it. Because I used to do some Doors for karaoke, and even that, like, fuck it. Yeah.
Well, we should do karaoke sometime, and I'll do the Live Aid versions of Led Zeppelin.
Fuck, man, that's brilliant. Yes. I'll join you.
I'm such a rock and roll. Yeah, and it's just shocking how bad,
his voice.
Phil Collins was like, so, he was really tired at the end of the day, but he was not. He wasn't impressed with.
No, his
Zeppelin guys.
I gotta say,
he had toured with Robert Plant, so he knows what Robert Plant can do when he's on his game.
Yeah, and I'm sure that was an annoyance to Phil. And I gotta say, when we're not exaggerating here, where Robert Plant's voice cracks more times in that 22-minute period than most of 12, 13-year-old boys' voice cracks in a 22-minute period.
Yeah, it's I don't think he was practicing his vocals. I think he thought that's another thing. When you're older, you might, maybe he thought he could just pull it off.
No,
those are bad. I mean, those are like those notes he was hitting in his 20s. They're difficult to hit in his 20s. I couldn't imagine being, hit in your 40s at this point.
Yeah, and again, Mick Jagger was asked about, because Mick Jagger, someone, I can't remember what it was. It was an interview where someone was saying about a time they hung out with Mick Jagger, and he was down in his basement just fucking, singing songs and blah blah blah. And this guy came over and he was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" He's like, "Exercising." He's like, "I sing like at least an hour to 2 hours a day to keep my voice in check." Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough, especially But yeah, it's just staggering. And then like the top the show off is an out-of-tune Stairway to Heaven.
Oh God, it's so bad. It's so bad. It's so bad. All right, Joe. Let's do plugs. I'm gonna try and get us caught up here. Let's do some plugs, buddy. What do you got going on?
We just released our review of Zardoz.
Oh my God, the penis is evil.
Yeah,
I've seen that movie once, dude, and it stuck with me my entire time. By the way, I for people here, let's give them a little bit of a thing here. Do you ever find, like, did it ever make sense to you why at one point Sean Connery, who looks like Burt Reynolds in this movie, is in a wedding dress?
Oh, because they're smuggling them.
Okay. All right. There you go. All right.
Yeah, that's why they had to hide them because, they're.
It wasn't a great disguise.
No. It's something else, that movie. Yeah. And then we'll be doing Splash.
Nice. Oh wait, with Tom Hanks?
Yeah. Yep. The Tom Hanks, Daryl Hannah.
Eugene Levy, Tom Hanks, Daryl Hannah. Classic, man. Classic.
Yep. So that's what we have going on. Paul, what do you have happening?
Right now I have this podcast happening. I got to get caught up. We got to get this back to being a weekly podcast.
Oh boy, Paul. What's your pick?
We are going to go from the 1985 Live Aid, and we're going to move ahead 2 decades to 2005. And we're going to, because it's the Bob Dylan's anniversary this month still. We are going to do Lindsey Buckingham's first solo album in many years called Under the Skin.
All right.
I know I wanted to scare you, Bob Dylan. I'm not going to make you listen to Bob Dylan, bro. I know your feelings there.
Yeah, I've never heard it, so I'll listen to it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Lindsey Buckingham's solo album, Under the Skin. It is his own stuff. It's all stuff he wrote, but he does have some guests that come in here and there from his Fleetwood Mac days and things like that. So we'll talk about that. But yeah, you should be able to find that one pretty easily. You won't have to go on YouTube to look for it.
Oh.
So that is my album pick for our next one.
Sweet.
Yep. So I keep changing on you. I know I keep changing on you. You're like, but there's one I really want to get to, but we'll get to it because in between there, I'm like, God, there's this other one that I think about in those, in those 2-week times that I have, that comes up that I go, oh, fuck, let's do this one instead. So
he did an album with Christine McVie in 2017, huh?
He did.
Right before he got fired from Fleetwood Mac.
Spoiler alert, it's not great. Yes, right before he got fired from, and what's so funny is everyone else in the band is like, oh yeah, I totally want to work with Lindsey. And I'll get into that in the episode. Yeah, it's so funny.
Some tells me he's a hard guy to work with.
He's got his things. But I think that whole band is just dysfunctional.
It's been the same since Peter Green left.
No, it hasn't. Yeah, it's just a total dysfunctional band, but we're not really going to dig into that so much. Maybe at some point down the road, maybe we'll get into like a Fleetwood Mac album, but nope, we're just going to do his solo album there, Under the Skin.
All right.
Well,
all right, Paul, why don't you take us out with an out-of-tune version of Rock and Roll?
It's been a long time since I rock and roll. It's been a long time since I chaka bow down, chaka chaka chaka.